Hello, Pencil Peeps! This is Joel, animator for Pencilish, and I'm here to explain my half of the process of making this short scene with John Densk, another animator here at Pencilish. So basically, Tom asked me and John to come up with some ideas for short skits we could animate in preparation of the Bjorn the Unicorn show. So I came up with this particular idea of Becca and Bjorn doing a sort of fashion video for their social media audience, and just sort of playing off the idea that Bjorn has no idea how this sort of thing works or how fashion works, so naturally he will wear the mousetraps as earrings. So the first thing John and I did after writing this idea is storyboarding it. So basically, in the storyboard process, we figure out, just in general, the placement of the characters and how they act and what expressions, without nailing down the exact poses and character designs that we'll use in the animation phase. So John and I split the work on that. He mostly did Becca and I mostly did Bjorn, which is also how we split the animation process after we were done boarding. So here we are in the rough animation phase. So this part of the process, I'm figuring out just the very basic shapes to get the movement down and the proportions of the characters, and just figure out how exactly they're gonna move around to accomplish the acting that is needed for the scene. So that's what I'm doing here for Bjorn. This is also where I'm figuring out the lip sync and what mouth shapes Bjorn should have to say his lines. So I'm remembering probably the most important idea of lip sync is a concept commonly referred to as swallowing the dialogue, where basically you don't enunciate every single thing. You try to make it as easy for yourself as possible. So you can accomplish most lip sync motion with just opening and closing the mouth. So that's a good place to start, and then figuring out maybe his lips should be more pushed forward when he says ooh, or maybe the tongue should make contact with the teeth when he goes that, and so on. The other thing I'm paying extra special attention to in this scene is drag and overlap, particularly on Bjorn's ears, because I really want to convey the feeling that these are big, heavy earrings that also make his ears really stiff, and just basically make it as painful as possible without, being gross. Nothing like that Squidward toenail scene here. No thanks. But the basic idea is that when Bjorn stops moving, his ears are still moving, and they're still gonna sort of jiggle back and forth until they finally settle. Acting-wise, of course, I wanted it to be clear that Bjorn is experiencing a lot of pain, but is putting on a brave face for his audience. So, he plays it off pretty cool in the first half, and he's just strutting his stuff. And I tried looking up some fashion poses for Bjorn to use without digging too deep into the internet. I just kind of ended up winging it in the end, but I had fun with that. I made sure to throw in a few DreamWorks faces. For those of you who don't know, the DreamWorks face is like that really confident expression where one eyebrow's down and the other one is up, and the lids are half closed, and they look kind of sly, like they know something that you don't know. Like they got the dirt on you, and they could destroy your career. You don't know. It is an expression I use very sparingly, and avoid when I can, but here it is extremely appropriate. So then in the second half of the scene, Bjorn starts to break a bit. Like, he's squinting his eyes so hard as he says, "You must suffer for fashion." Like, he's trying so hard not to break. He forces himself into this big smile, and a single tear dribbles down his cheek. Like, it's only a facade. I wasn't really sure what to do with the little at the end that our lovely voice actor Caleb Hiles provided. I originally wanted to do where he kind of goes into this frozen pose and this sound effect just kind of spills out of him Like, I was kind of thinking of Invader Zim or something like that. Like, his expression is so fake he can't even move. It's like he's plastic. Tom suggested that there should be some indication that he's making a noise, so he suggested he sort of nudge up a little bit on the which I think works. So by now I've entered the cleanup and in-between stage, where I take all those rough shapes and make them look like good shapes, with clean line work, and also adding more drawings in between the main poses to make the action look smoother. Interestingly, the in-betweening and cleanup process is the part of the process that requires the least amount of thought, but it's also the process that requires the most amount of time. So, there's not a lot to say about it, but it takes up a lot of time. It's kind of a metaphor for life, really. It's so much easier to get an idea down on paper than to actually follow through on it and bring it to completion. Not to mention when you're in the world of animation and it takes years and years to make just like a 5-minute short on your own. So I'd say unfinished projects are very common in the animation world. I was just looking up some stuff about the guy who made that animated movie 9, which was based on a student film he made. And on his Wikipedia you can see like he made that movie and the short film it was based on and maybe another student film or two. But then he's got like 5 or 6 other projects that he started but never finished, which I just found interesting, and I don't mean that as an offense to that guy, because he's clearly very talented and has great ideas, but I just think it's kind of tragic that animation is something that everyone wants to do and has great ideas for, but it just takes so much time and so much effort to bring it to reality. I mean, we take it for granted, really. Just how much effort goes into an animated film or a video game, which probably requires even more effort because it's like a movie, but also you have to program everything and you have to figure out what the character says, how he reacts to 60 different scenarios, you know? I mean, so much goes into this stuff and we just take it for granted. It's kind of miraculous, really. I think it's miraculous that so much animation exists, given how much time and how many people it takes to bring to fruition. So anyway, that's my cleanup rant. Thanks for joining me in this pencil-tastic journey. Please subscribe to Pencilish Studios' YouTube channel and invest in Pencilish Studios for more great pencil content.